Today I'm going to be drilling lobs off the dink on both the forehand and the backhand side. Your first reaction might be, those don't really work against young, athletic, quick type of opponents, and I would say, I don't disagree. I might also say they don't work against shorter, slower, less athletic people if I don't hit them well. So that's why we're going to drill. To me, it's just another tool in the toolbox, and I want as many tools in that toolbox as I can fit, especially tools that I can use well. If I ever want to use this in a game, I need to have already practiced it, already drilled it before I try and use it in that game. I already have masterclass videos on how to hit lobs, forehand and backhand. I'll put links to those videos in the description box below. In those masterclass videos, I went over the mechanics of how to hit lobs well. We're going to use those same mechanics up here on the kitchen line. And so if you practice using those mechanics that I talked about on the baseline, then these mechanics will seem very familiar. Let me talk a little bit about how I want to set this up so it's a little bit difficult. I don't want these drill sessions to be easy on me. I want them to be difficult so that when I get in the game, I'm used to things being difficult. I don't have a human drilling partner this morning, so I'm going to use my ball machine and I'm going to use my stand-in. I call him Drew Brees. I know he's not Drew Brees, that's just what I call him. When I'm drilling this, I want life to be difficult, so what I'm going to have is, normally I would have my drilling partner be over here in a more normal position when we're dinking cross courts on these backhands, or maybe even a little bit wider. But as I'm lobbing, I want to go straight between my two opponents to that back corner because that's the furthest distance, and so more of my balls will fall in bounds. So instead of, if you have a human partner and you're drilling this, instead of having them feed you balls from here, maybe have them feed you balls more from this position. And then as you start your lob, have them stand here with their paddle extended high, and that's your target, is to get that lob up and over their reach. That's what you want your normal to be. So I'm going to have my stand-in be a little bit out of position here, blocking my path down the middle for my lob to go down into that corner, and that will give me a better reference point about how good or how bad those balls are. Now, if you're going to lob these off the dink, this may be the harder combination because this is the backhand side and this is getting this ball down the middle to that corner is to your opponent's forehand side if they're a righty. And so that's easier on them and maybe a little bit harder on you. So take that into account, and if in a game you're going to lob off the backhand side, recognize this is your opponent's forehand and you've got to hit this ball extra well to keep it out of their reach. That's why I have this guy out of position to make it tougher on me as I'm trying to throw up these lobs. Knowing all this, that maybe my backhand lob is not as good, and if my opponent's a righty over here and this is their forehand side, in a game I might want to take into account who's standing here. So if this opponent on this side is less athletic than their partner, maybe they're shorter, maybe they're slower, whatever, I might want to do this more often to get this ball over the weaker player's head in this direction off my backhand, because maybe my backhand's not as good. And if I can do that well, it should force the better player off the kitchen line to go run down this lob. So that pretty much covers this backhand lob to that corner. I want to lob to that corner. Now when we do the forehand side, for me as a righty going the other way, I still want to make life difficult for me as I'm lobbing those balls, and I want to move or get my human partner or my stand-in kind of out of position more toward the center, so I've got to hit that lob better going from this side all the way back to that corner. You might find that this is the easier shot for you in a game. If you're a righty and that's your forehand side, hitting this ball up and down the middle back to that back corner, if your opponent of yours is a righty as well, then what happens is as this ball comes up high in the middle, then this is the high backhand, usually a harder shot for a lot of people. So maybe this is an easier shot, again, as you're thinking in the game, and these dinks are going back and forth, you're looking for just the right ball, and you've already planned ahead, I want to lob one of these if I get just the right ball. So we're thinking, am I better on my forehand side going that way, or am I better on my backhand side going that way? And who's the opponent kind of in the way on the other side of the court? So take those things into account as you lob, and then hopefully that will be better for you during the game. As I had in my previous video about how to hit lobs well, I have a visual target and an audible target back in the back. So I have two laundry baskets kind of set up in the corner. They're against that baseline, and the reason for that is it gives me a visual target to hit to, and it gives me an audible reference too. So if I see the ball kind of go back there and it looks like it went beyond the basket and I don't hear it hit the basket, then I know I probably lobbed that ball too far. I'm not necessarily trying to hit those baskets because they're all the way back on the baseline and my margin for error would be very small. I want to get it close. Like if it lands in front of the baskets, for me that's fine as long as it's high enough. I just want to have a target back there that I'm kind of focusing on. I've got a bigger target, so there's two baskets back there, so I don't necessarily need these lobs to be perfect. I just kind of want them in that general area without going out of bounds. Today I'm primarily going to be trying to hit defensive lobs, meaning those are higher and coming down further back, rather than offensive lobs, which are faster horizontally but not quite as high. Offensive lob, you would just try and get it out of the reach of your opponent and have it be moving so fast horizontally that it would fall in and they cannot run it down. For these, I don't necessarily care as much as they can run it down because I'm trying to pull somebody off this kitchen line, and it's a safer shot because if I can get this up high and still drop it on the court, then my margin for error is bigger. I don't have to just get this out of somebody's reach, which is what I would want to be doing if I'm hitting an offensive lob. To me, the defensive lob is easier to hit. That's why I'm going to be doing this, and I'm going to be practicing this on both sides. Let's go drill and hit some balls. All right, here we go. Hitting some backhand lobs here off the dink. I want to be low under this ball. I want to have a straight arm and lift with my shoulder, not with my bicep, not with my wrist, anything. I want to get this ball high and going back to that back corner that would hit the basket. So I want these balls coming straight down, meaning that if they're going to go get this and hit it out of the air, they've got to get so far back. That went wide. That one's better back into the corner. So I'm going to breathe while I do this. As I hit, my paddle is going to continue on in the path toward that corner as long as I can. That will help my targeting. Trying to get this ball deep and pull somebody up off the line. That was a little bit short. I got a little distracted there. That's better. So miss-hit that one. Look this ball all the way into the paddle like that, and maybe you won't miss-hit balls like I just did a couple balls ago. So we're going to practice this. So in a game, if I want to do this, I've already got this experience hitting these balls. That was a little bit short and a little bit low. That was a little bit high and a little bit out. I'm not going to make all of these, but that's why I'm drilling, so I can get better and better at these. So that was back toward that basket, a little bit short. I don't necessarily want to hit that basket because those are way back on the baseline. That one hit the basket, not a bad thing, but I want to leave myself more room for error than that. I want to be light on my feet, get as low as I can get. That one, oh, I was on the line. Thought it was going out. Get low, just lift with a straight arm. I'm not trying to put any spin on these. And then during a game, if you want to do this, be thinking ahead, be planning a shot or two in advance. If you're in this cross-court dinking battle with somebody and go, all right, you give me just the ball that I want, I'm going to lob this to the back corner. So I've already thought about it, and now I'm looking for just the right ball that will let me do that. So one that I'm relatively in good position, one I can get low on, one that's maybe got the right bounce, whatever bounce I'm looking for. These are bouncing a little bit low. Again, I'm trying to make life a little bit difficult on myself, build up my cardio, my endurance a little bit, and get low on these and trying to lift straight up. Light on your feet. I had to move out a little bit for that. That one's not bad. Thought it was going to be shorter than that. All right, so this is what it looks like on the backhand side. I'm just trying to have my paddle low to start with, lift straight up through that ball, and get enough height on it. So when it comes down, it's coming down fairly straightly, coming fairly straight down. So when we practice that on both sides, we're going to go do the forehand in a second. got to get low. Go watch the videos on the masterclass on lobbing, because I talk more about the mechanics in there than I did here. Key thing here is, one, we've got to practice. The other thing is be thinking ahead. It's like planning ahead. It's like not spur of the moment. It's like I'm looking for just the right ball. I'm going to lob the next ball or the next one. I've already thought about it. I'm already planning on lobbing this. Now just give me the ball that I want, a ball that I feel like is a good candidate to be lobbed, and that's the one I'm going to try this with. Again, I've got my drilling partner set up in the middle to make life a little bit more difficult on me, a little bit more in the way. If you have a human partner, have them feed you balls and maybe stand here like this with their paddle up. So that's your visual for how high you need that lob to be, minimally, to get this over their head. So they're out of position, they wouldn't normally be there, and I want them to be more in the way. All right, let's go hit some forehands. All right, here we go. Defensive lobs off the forehand side. So as I did in my video, when I'm hitting lobs from the baseline on the forehand side, I will tend to put some top spin on that ball. So since that is my normal, then I'm going to do this when I'm up here on the kitchen line, because that's what I normally do when I hit lobs when I'm back deep on the court. So I want to mimic that, the same as when I was hitting lobs off the dink on the backhand side. That was ugly. I was mimicking what I was doing on the baseline. So just trying to put a little bit of top spin on these, trying to have my paddle continue on to that corner a little bit. Helps my targeting. I want to be low under these. I'm going to try and use my left hand here. If I quit talking, I'll think about all my mechanics that I should be doing. Put my left hand out by this ball since I can, and it's free now on my forehand side. Gives me a good reference point where that ball is. Helps me hit that better. And then I want to look this ball all the way in to my paddle to that contact point. I want to exhale all the things I normally do and the things I talked about in that other video. I want to be low, start with my paddle down by the floor. I'm just trying to come up off the floor, contact this paddle, roll a little top spin on it on this forehand side. Keep my feet a good distance apart. I don't want to try and hit these with my feet together like this. It's just very difficult to do. I can't get low, I can't move. I want to be light on my feet and always moving. So again, over here on this side, forehand, if you feel like your forehand's better, then you might want to pull more of these off in a game. And as I talked about earlier, now my opponent, if they're right-handed, me going down the middle is a high backhand for them. So if I hit this short, maybe I didn't get myself into too much trouble. So added benefit, and that was ugly. I would probably eat that for lunch. That's better. Look the ball all the way into my paddle a little bit long. That one's much better. So I'm going to practice these. Obviously, I'm not going to hit them all well, and that's why I'm going to drill. The more I drill, the higher my percentage goes up as far as how many of these I can hit well. So then in a game, I get into a cross-court dinking battle with somebody, and I start thinking, I want to mix things up a little bit. One way I can mix those things up is throw in a lob. Now what I want to do is wait for just the right ball. So if we've hit a couple balls back and forth in this dinking battle, or we have done that earlier in the game, then I start thinking ahead and going, I'm going to lob one of these. Give me just that right ball that I'm looking for, whatever that ball is for you. One where you're not having to hustle too hard to get to it. One that's got a good enough bounce. One that's just in the right position. And then we've already thought ahead. Give me that ball, and I'm going to lob this into the corner. So we're looking for a specific ball. We don't want to do this on the fly and just spontaneously try and lob this ball back, because it's not necessarily the easiest shot. So I want to be thinking ahead. I want to be thinking about, give me that right ball, and I'm going to lob this into the corner. You're never going to see this coming because you're going to be expecting a dink back from me. And for some reason you think you can out-dink me and you're in this extended dink rally. That's fine. I don't care. But we're thinking ahead. How are we going to mix this up a little bit? And there's many ways to mix up that dink battle and get out of it. This might be one way to practice. Being low here, lifting up the back of that ball. Just trying to get it back there to those 2 baskets. That was too long. That's much better, right deep in the corner. Not corner, but it was deep toward the baseline. And that was good as well. Alrighty. So go practice those and you'll get better at it. You'll have more confidence in the game. And then try it in a game. Because me sitting here drilling all day is not the same as me hitting these in a game. I want to start hitting some of these in the game, thinking ahead. So the mindset's really important. If we're thinking ahead of the point, what we want to happen, and if we can control that, that's to our advantage. So if you want to stay in a dinking battle and you feel like you can outlast your opponent because you're better at dinking, go ahead and do that. If you feel like you're better than your opponent, so now I want to try something different and throw up a lob, try that on both sides. Get used to throwing up forehand lobs, backhand lobs off the dink, and see how that goes. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you found that informative, helpful. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I would appreciate it. Thanks.